Okay, Barbecue World, Spencer Defty with Nuttywood Barbecue Company, and earlier this week we posted about a short rib cook we did where we realized after we had went through the whole process that the meat was no good, and so we were trying to figure out why it was no good, and in the process of analyzing what we did or did not do wrong, we realized in the tasting and messing with the fat that we probably got our meat got mixed up at the butcher shop with somebody else's, and it was an old butcher cow, and so we did a post about the bad meat. And we've had a huge response to that. So we wanted to address it to you in a bit longer form because everybody that has come in has said, how do we tell the difference? You know, what is this? This just happened to be, we took it to a butcher shop. That meat was older. We took it to a butcher shop, and what we think happened is those short ribs accidentally got switched out for an old butcher cow because of the cattle that we raise is very consistent in flavor and profile that came from that particular herd of beef that we use, and so it was way out of consistency with what we typically have. So it was most likely just an honest mistake at the butcher shop, so we're just going to leave it at that. But in response to that, we want to talk about what happens in that. So for those of you guys who hunt and gals that hunt, if you've been taught properly about when you're dressing your game, and we'll give you guys, there'll be a picture that I'll show you of a deer that we actually harvested this year, and when we were skinning it, it was such a healthy deer that I actually took a picture of the inner fat that comes right in this pelvis area when you're gutting them, right up in that pelvis area in the interior. There's a real high energy gobby fat that we always look for to kind of gauge when we're looking at game at how healthy the animal and the animal herd is. This particular buck was really healthy, and we'll show you a picture of that. But what you really want to look for when you're buying your meat, these are lambs that we actually raised ourselves, and this is a lamb chop from it. And so you can see in this that these are still frozen, but you can see that this is a very firm, white, hard fat, and it's consistent throughout in its color, its texture, its firmness coming through. So this is really what the type of fat you're looking for in your beef and your lamb. Pork won't be as firm as beef and lamb. It's a little bit different in the way that pork fat is, but you're looking for that firmer white fat. If it's yellow and it's gelatinely, it's soft, it's got inconsistencies in it, that's a sign of ketosis. A lot of us has heard about the keto diet, or most of us refer to the Cheeto diet because we're typically cheat. But what happens when an animal or a mammal goes into ketosis, that means that it's not getting enough carbohydrates or energy to feed off of it on its intake, so it starts converting its own body fat into energy. So when you start converting your own body fat into energy, your fat metabolizes down, it renders down so that it can go into the bloodstream and it can be converted to energy in your system. When that happens, that process, there's some things that happen. If you've ever been around somebody who's really regimented about a high protein diet or a keto diet, you'll notice that they have bad breath. You'll notice that if they work out hard, that they have a lot stronger body odor. That's part of that process of the acetone that's created in your body to render that fat down. So when that happens, that affects the flavor profile of your meat. And so that's what's happening when that happens, is essentially the animal's going into ketosis. And again, when we go back to hunting, we know that when we kill an animal, like for you guys who love to kill big bucks or big elk, you want rut hunts and all that. You want late rut hunts where them bucks are rutting hard and they're chasing those does. Well, those bucks, when they go into ketosis, it also suppresses your appetite. That's one of the signs of it. And so when that appetite suppression happens, it kind of manifests and builds on itself. The math builds on itself. They're not intaking as much because they have a suppressed appetite, so then their body demands more energy, so it starts feeding more. So when you have a late hunt after the rut, those bucks, when you skin them, they got yellow fat. Excuse me. They have yellow fat, and they're also poor. When we say they're poor, they don't have a lot of fat cover. That fat's yellow, it's not firm, the meat smells, and you know that you're not going to get as good a tasting venison as you would, say, a late summer or an early fall buck that's getting fattened up. Hog hunt, same thing. We don't hunt hogs until this time of the year in the winter, December, because we want them on fall acorns getting fat. We want it to get cold so that fat firms up. If we kill those hogs in the summer, typically don't eat them because the meat's no good, because of, again, they're in ketosis, they're feeding off their own body, the meat is rendered down and it doesn't taste good. So again, we're looking for this firm fat. And for those of you that are going to get into the farm to fork thing and start raising your own animals, know that what you feed them is going to affect the way they taste. And when you kill those animals and you put them into the meat locker, you want to make sure that you have this kind of fat cover. We typically, if we're going to do it, we like killing them in the spring or in the fall. We don't like to do it in the summer because during the summer here in California, Northern California, it's hot. And they typically, their fat isn't as good when it's hot. So anyhow, just some tips on that. Thank you guys for the engagement. If you have any questions, just feel free to email us. Hit us at naughtywoodbarbecue.com. Have a great week. Happy grilling.